There are Skyrim mods where 80% of players will love, mods like Sky UI or Static Mesh Improvement mod. Then there are mods where opinion and preference is split 50-50. Mods like Fabled Forest or combat mods or sexy mods, I guess. It all depends on who you ask. And this is one of the many reasons why Skyrim continues to thrive, because of a plethora of mods that cater to all sorts of audiences of a diverse panel of tastes and preferences, where players have the option to just turn a feature on or off with only a few clicks. So what about you? Do you have mods that you love but most people don't? So let's talk about it. Timestamps are in the description, guys. Darker night mods. So in real life, nights are obviously very dark. And at first glance it feels immersive to have extremely dark nights, but once we start putting on mods where the night is like pitch dark black, it becomes extremely difficult to get immersed because you can't see a damn thing. I guess Darker Nights mod can add to the atmosphere and the ambience and immersion, and if you're playing on survival mode and turn on to the extreme, then it can turn Skyrim into something that just feels more real, and at the same time it can turn it into a horror game real quick, because if you put on some headphones with some extremely dark nights, all of a sudden you like every step you feel you hear this sound, but you don't know if it's the mods making those fake sound or if it's a sound of some animal behind you or something. Overall, nights are very, very good in theory, but when you put it into practice while you're playing Skyrim, if you can't see anything, the Skyrim experience turns into something a little bit more difficult to enjoy. However, if you are a user of magic, night mods, darker night mods are gonna be a godsend because it adds so much more to the immersion. Because everything is dark, but all you see is these really, really incredible looking spells. Requiem Combat Overhaul mod. Bro, he's drinking? Wait, what? What? This is one of the tougher ones to get into. Requiem is more like Wrecked-quiem, because you get absolutely wrecked if you're not really good with combat. I'm not good with combat as much, and I play Skyrim for the enjoyment in terms of just exploration and less about combat. The thing about Requiem is if you're really good at combat, you're gonna enjoy it because you have to time your attacks and dodge and everything else. And what makes Requiem even more difficult is you have now a stamina resource management that you have to take care of, and it makes the combat much more realistic but more difficult. But sometimes it can get really overly difficult, and you'll find out when you start facing like just two little spider, but all of a sudden you get hit in one or two shots. As for me, I am a very filthy casual. I will leave the combat mods and the Requiem mods to the pros. Next up, we're talking about trees, specifically Fabled Forest. See, the beauty of Fabled Forest is the point in which it actually divides the player preference. The mod adds these majestic trees that add so much to the beauty of Skyrim, but at the same time, because of its towering height and weight, it blocks many of Skyrim's most beautiful vantage point. In the original Skyrim, due to the smaller trees, you could see the vastness of Dragon's Reach from any other point so far away in the far distance. But because Fabled Forest adds these monumental trees that blocks off the view, it kind of pushes away the very essence of the vanilla Skyrim. Some would say that it takes out the heart and soul of Skyrim. However, Fabled Forest is exactly for someone who's looking for somewhat of a newer experience of Skyrim, because all you have to do is turn the mod on and you have a new experience to explore, because now everything feels like a brand new game. See, for example, places like Riverwood in the vanilla, without the trees, without the tall trees, you recognize it straight away as Riverwood. But once you start adding Fabled Forest, it becomes quite difficult to recognize Riverwood at first glance. Okay, so sexy mods is next. I'm just gonna blur out some parts of this video. might as well blur the whole damn thing. So looking at my YouTube analytics, even from another channel I had a long time ago with video games, most of my viewers are basically 95% males. Nothing wrong with that, nothing wrong with sausage. And with sexy mods, it's like some people really feel like it's absolutely essential to have it in the game, and some people just are absolutely kind of just no. And even with sexy mods, it's like there's a preference for the type of bodies that some players want. Some want that, like, I guess the petite slim body, and then some guys just want that huge dump truck looking body. You know, hey, that's just a preference. But what I'm saying is that even in sexy mods, there's like a split preference in the niche market of sexy mods. Then there are things like schlongs of Skyrim. I mean, I just like that word itself sounds very wet. Schlong. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't consider this one sexy, but I guess it goes in the category of sexy. Okay, so next one we're talking about is the color of the water. Watercolor changes a whole new world because it can actually change the feel and the atmosphere of Skyrim. Some players like, you know, the original kind of dirty blue water of vanilla Skyrim. Then some players really like the kind of the fantasy, colorful, bright, saturated look of EMB plus super blue water to make it feel fantastical. The color of the water is something that many players are kind of split between. Grass mods opens up a whole new area of preference. There's so many grass mods out there, something like Folkvengar and Skoglendi and Northern Grass from a while back. And you know, they all look great because they have their own flavor of charm. But the way that you add grass can really change the outlook of your vanilla Skyrim. Once you add in certain types of grass, it makes your Skyrim now look a little bit less gritty and bleak. So one thing that's split in terms of grass mods is that some players in the tundra area of Skyrim, some players don't like the green grass because it changes all this visual. It changes the atmosphere, the original vanilla atmosphere of Skyrim. And then some players like to mod Skyrim where everything is basically one huge patch of green. It kind of looks like artificial turf. Next up, we're talking about EMBs. EMBs technically not really a mod because it just depends on how you define a mod in Skyrim. EMB, they kind of modify the game visually, but not in the way that mods do it. So the traditional mods, they edit texture, right? But EMB, they change the camera lens in which you view what you see on the screen, if that makes some weird sense. You know, but because EMBs have various different flavors, aka presets, some are much more darker and ominous to make Skyrim feel more realistic and gritty and grimdark, while others have a much more vibrant and saturated look, making it look like, you know, you're in a happier place in Skyrim. And this is where, you know, player base is kind of split because some people want that whole vibrant, natural, beautiful, bright look, while others feel like the vanilla essence of Skyrim should be something that's gritty and dark and ominous. So looking at Skyrim and player preference, it's got me thinking a little, because I feel that maybe the environment in which the player grows up kind of influences their EMB preference. So for me, I grew up in an environment where, you know, it wasn't as beautiful. And when I play games, I want to step away from that, you know, nasty neighborhood looking thing. So I like to make my games much more beautiful to kind of escape from that, I don't know, nasty place that I grew up in. So, I mean, what about you? Do you feel the same way that I do? Where your Skyrim kind of looks basically opposite of what your environment is? And I guess if you grew up in a place where it's like basically just beautiful fairy tale, you might you might be okay with playing Skyrim where it's like gritty and dark, just so you can kind of have a different experience than what your real life is. So yeah, let me know if that's how you feel or if I'm kind of funky. Of all the Skyrim mods, I think JK mods are some of the most beautiful. It's amazing if you have the system to run it, but sometimes beauty can come at a huge cost. But with JK Mods, it just adds so much more flavor. Everything just looks next generation. But of course, you're gonna need a very, very extremely good PC. And you know, sometimes even if you have a good PC, like even a RTX 4090 with an AMD Ryzen 7800 X3D with a Vcache chip, you can still be limited because of DirectX draw calls. So essentially, if you have too many draw calls, then you can have a very, very slow Skyrim in terms of your FPS. So JK mods are extremely beautiful, but if you don't have the system for it or your system just can't catch up, yeah, you're gonna be shedding tears. Okay, so we are reaching the end of this video. Let me know what you guys think. Are there any mods that you have, that you love, but for some reason other people just can't stand it? Let me know in the comment section. It's not to insult anything really, it's more of a curiosity's sake. Everybody has their own preference, right? So just because somebody likes something or doesn't like something doesn't make it bad or worse, right? At the end of the day, they're just opinions and everybody is entitled to their opinion.